Привет, welcome to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Today we are reacting to Ukrainian forces getting closer to Russian forces. It's basically a terrifying moment of Ukrainian army cripple Russia forces near Bakhmut. So we're gonna watch what's happening in Bakhmut. Let's go. Oh shit. That was a drone strike.
Fighting has intensified along Ukraine's southern front, with Kiev's forces reportedly breaking through some Russian defenses in Zaporizhia. Fighting in the region has caused Russian forces to lose a large number of vehicles and suffer heavy casualties. Russian forces lost 12 tanks, 14 infantry fighting vehicles, and 21 artillery systems in a week, Kiev's military said on Tuesday, as its grinding counteroffensive entering its third month in the south of the country. Ukrainian military drone footage posted this week appeared to show that Russia lost nearly 47 armored vehicles, including tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and artillery systems, in fighting around Novoprokopivka. Russian troops...
The lands are huge, but one of the things they don't know is that Russia has a lot of armored vehicles, a lot of tanks. Thousands upon thousands, and this is nothing to them, I think, but the Ukrainian forces have shown a great resistance, because this war started, I think, last 2 years, I think. This war started years ago, and they've still been resistant, and this should tell you a lot about the Ukrainian forces. It is wild. But the Russian forces also do not give up. They do not resist. And that also should tell you a lot about the Russian forces.
Conducted unsuccessful offensive actions in the areas of the settlements of Novoprokopivka in Zaporizhia Oblast. They suffered significant losses among their military personnel, weapons and equipment. Ukrainian forces, they had penetrated the first line of Russian strongholds in the Zaporizhia region, in a sign that Kiev is edging closer to Moscow's sprawling network of fortified trenches along the southern front. The Ukrainian military claimed its forces were pushing towards the village of Novoprokopivka south of Robotyne, a village in Zaporizhia that Kiev secured last week, and Verbov, another settlement 10 kilometers to the east of Robotyne, according to the General Staff. They have been successful, are consolidating their positions, inflicting artillery fire on the identified enemy targets, and conducting counter-battery operations. The military.
So all those lines are trenches that dug. Oh my days. I mean, this is probably going to be easier for the Ukrainian forces, because all they gotta do is just target all those lines areas, because there are people inside. This is I don't know who gave them the idea, but man, trenches, digging that much trench, that's so obvious, so obvious of where the enemies are. They know where you are, they will come for you. It's I don't know who gave them the idea. It's like they're fighting in the olden days of wars. They're using the old tactics, which I don't know if it works.
Military's General Staff said. Combat has ramped up towards the northern outskirts of Novoprokopivka, south of Robotyne, and close to a line of Russian fortifications in Zaporizhia, according to the 46th Brigade, which is fighting in the area. Liberates the village of Novoprokopivka will open up the space for their further progress towards Tokmak. Kyiv has expanded its units towards the strategic town of Tokmak in recent weeks, a logistics center for Russian forces with a railhead through which resupply is carried out, and depots for fuel and ammunition are situated. The capture of the small village is seen as an important step in the counter-offensive aimed at cutting the land bridge between Russia and Crimea, and thus suffocating Moscow's forces in the occupied areas to the south. U.S. White House spokesman John Kirby says it has seen notable progress by Ukrainian forces in Zaporizhia over 72 hours as its counter-offensive picks up speed. Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said on Friday Ukrainian military forces have retaken a total of over 200 square kilometers of territory in southern Ukraine and an additional 60 square kilometers in the Bakhmut area in eastern Donetsk Oblast since the counteroffensive started on June. Despite the reported success in Kyiv's counteroffensive, Ukraine...
That should tell you the resistance force of the Ukrainian army. You know, at the start of the war, everybody thought, oh, they were going to lose within a few weeks and the war will be over because Russia is a really huge army. You know, but I think people can understand something. Russia is not using their modern weapons. I've done a lot of reactions of Russia's weapons, and these weapons they're using are old stored, you know, World War weapons, basically. It's like they're dumping it on them instead of using their real new weapons. And this is something people gotta consider. That is why this war is lasting longer, because they can end it like quick, like just a blink of an eye. They can end it, but they don't want to use those kind of weapons because, you know, because of international NATO, blah blah blah. You know.
Ukraine and its Western allies are still waiting for a major breakthrough in the campaign, though experts believe this could become easier after Ukraine broke through Russia's initial line of defense on the southern front. Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar said Ukrainian forces can operate more freely in areas with sparser Russian minefields. She said on September 8 that minefields near the next series of Russian defensive positions are less dense than the initial defensive layer.
And the mines, oh my days. Mines in war are something like, mines being in war, right, is like a cheat, basically. I can say it's a cheat, because imagine you're walking on the way and then all of a sudden you hear a button cut. At that point, just pray for your life. Either, I don't know, because once you step out, it will blow up. That's the crazy part about mine.
That Ukrainian forces advanced through. Ukrainian analysts said the drive to capture a succession of villages was paying off, but much would depend on pushing on for the next 2 months before wintry weather takes hold. A recent Ukrainian video shows what appears to be a full battalion of fresh German armor is ready to engage the Russians, indicating the Ukrainian still has the ability to throw a major punch. At the same time, Russian war commentators claim that Russian brigades in Ukraine lack sufficient supplies, particularly artillery munitions. According to the ISW, Russian commentators who follow the war closely have claimed that troops are relying on limited stockpiles of artillery, thus performing poorly along the front in Ukraine. Russian sources continue to express concerns over Russian vulnerabilities in eastern and the western Zaporizhia Oblast. Russian Vostok Battalion Commander Alexander Khodakovsky, reportedly defending the eastern Donetsk-western Zaporizhia Oblast border area, claimed that Russian forces in his sector were stretched in a long arc along the front line, are having difficulties transferring reserves, and lack resources. The Biden administration will for the first time send controversial armor-piercing munitions containing depleted uranium to Ukraine. The rounds, which could help destroy Russian tanks, are part of a new military aid package for Ukraine set to be unveiled in the next...
If there's something we have to talk about, it is the fact that Russia, you know, since a year ago or something, has not run out of weapons. This should scare many countries. Like, they've been fighting for years. I mean, a year or so, a year and a few months, I think. But they've not run out of weapons, and that's what scares NATO.
Week, the munition can be fired from U.S. Abrams tanks, which are expected to arrive in Ukraine in the coming weeks. Depleted uranium is a byproduct of the production of fuel used in nuclear power stations. Its extreme density gives rounds the ability to penetrate armor plating easily. Germany has sent Ukraine ammunition just produced at the restored production line for Gepard self-propelled anti-aircraft guns. The German government announced a new round of military aid to Ukraine on Tuesday. amounting to $5.8 billion for 2023, as compared to about $2.15 billion for 2022, and additional commitments in the following years amounting to $11.3 billion.
Yes.
This latest package includes more than 10,000 shells for Gepard's self-propelled
Oh my days. Like, these people have the money, billions, to spend on weapons. But look at what's going on around the world. Man, this is really sad. You know, sometimes this breaks my heart because we have all these amount of money and there's still homelessness that's going on. You know, it is something that, I don't know if you think about it, but man, it is so totally sad. It is sad.
aircraft guns, a Beaver armored bridge paver, 4 border protection vehicles, 20,000 protective goggles, 32 Zetros trucks, 4 8x8 HX-81 tractors, and perhaps most importantly, about 9 million rounds of ammunition, including almost 27,000 rounds of 40mm shells.
So a lot of things are going on, man. This war has lasted almost a year, and almost a few months, and man, everybody's hoping this ends. Everybody is just hoping the world can have peace. But it is what it is, If you enjoyed this reaction, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. That was Enya.